Alright friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kristen and this is Growing Zone 9B. So I just got off work, of course, y'all know that, like, come on. At this point you got this figured out, right? So I went to the store and they basically wanted $28 for a 9-inch pumpkin pie. And I was like, that's insane. I don't know what world they're living in. It wasn't even a gluten-free pie, it was just a regular pie, and I'm like, no friends. So I'm gonna teach you how to make a pumpkin pie. Super simple, super easy. You can obviously make your own pie crust, but I will not be making my own pie crust. This is a gluten-free pie crust. We got it from Whole Foods and I had it in the freezer, and that's why you want to keep pie crusts just available for you, because you just never know. Like, you can make quiches and all kinds of stuff, so it's just good to have those. You can have the pie crust that are rolled up as well, but I like the gluten-free ones. So I've just put the oven to 350. It's ready to go actually, and I'm gonna put this in there for about 10 minutes. Now some people put weights on their pies so that the crust doesn't rise, or beans or whatever. I'm too lazy for that right now, I'm just gonna be honest with you. So I'm just gonna throw it in. Keep an eye on it. Now it will puff up sometimes. The gluten-free pie crust seem to do a lot better with the puffing. It's not really that bad. So we're just gonna throw it in, like I said, about 10 or 15 minutes. I like my pie crust to be a little soft. I kind of like it more on the doughier side than anything. So I'm just gonna throw it in real quick just like it is, and we'll get started on mixing the filling. All right, so this is really an easy recipe. You're just gonna need a can of pumpkin puree. This is what we have, is the organic can. I gotta get a can opener. And you're gonna need about 2 eggs. This is what we're gonna end up using. We got these at Whole Foods. So it's 2 eggs. I crack those first. Don't forget to wash out your eggshells, and you can put them in your compost. All right, so you're gonna need about a half a cup of, I use coconut milk, but because I'm lactose intolerant, a lot of people use like evaporated milk, like a 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. But I like to use the full fat coconut milk. We get this at Whole Foods. Y'all know I don't measure, so that was about a half a cup or so with the 2 eggs. And then I would say about, like, I don't know, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Now y'all know this is the cane sugar. I just used this tub. I'm just gonna do like probably like a half a cup there of that, because we don't really need that much sugar. It was probably less than a half a cup. Just get yourself the pumpkin pie spice. Hopefully y'all can see that. They sell this on Amazon, but obviously Amazon and Whole Foods are connected. So I would say about a half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon. I like mine a little more pumpkin-y spiced, so I'm definitely using a full teaspoon of this. This is the ginger we're gonna use. This is just Walmart. We grow our own ginger. I should just be using that, but since I already have this one, I just want to go ahead and use what we have. So I would say for us, because like I said, we like the ginger, I like that heavy ginger flavor, I've used another teaspoon of the ginger. And then of course you want to be putting your Redmond's real salt in there. Redmond's real, I'd say about 1/4 of a teaspoon to a half a teaspoon of that. Again, it's Redmond's real, so you're getting all those minerals and things that you need. Now you're gonna need a full can of the pumpkin puree. I'm gonna go ahead and actually start mixing that so the eggs get kind of whipped up a little bit. Alright, so that's nice and like brownish, kind of creamy looking. And I'm just gonna go ahead and dump this entire can. This is a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. I should have gotten a spoon or something to get this out of the can with. But I'm just rushing through this because I was like, I came home and I was like, no, we're doing this. I'm just gonna shoot a video about it real quick because, like I said, pumpkin pie is not difficult to make. There's no reason in this world that a pumpkin pie should cost that much. I mean, that's just insane. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, you should already have sugar on hand. Y'all know that. Eggs, pretty standard pantry, refrigerator item. The spices might have been the only things that you really needed to purchase. And then the pie shell itself, which, you know, nowadays those pie shells will run you about like $7, $8, $9 because it is gluten-free. But you can get it, like, if you don't have a gluten intolerance or whatever, then you can just get a pie shell for about $3 or $4. And then now this will probably be your most expensive thing that you'll buy. Like I said, we want to do the organic. So I mean, this can you're looking at about $5.50 a can. I buy these by the cases because I also mix these in with my dog's dog food. And so my dogs eat very well. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving them the best that I can. And you can also purchase this. You can get it through Whole Foods or you can go to Amazon. I happen to get these from Amazon. So we got a case of them at a time. We're just going to mix that up. When the pie shell is done baking, literally, friends, all you're going to do is just pour this into that pie shell when it's done and it meets the texture that you want, that nice kind of brown. I do not foil the top of my pumpkin pies. You're gonna crank up the oven, like when the pie shell comes out, to 425. You're gonna cook this for about 15 minutes on high, and then if you want to tint the edges of the pie, that's fine. But I don't tint the entire pie. If you want to, I mean, you can. It's not, there's no harm to doing it. But I would probably just tint the outside so that that crust doesn't get nasty. After about 15 minutes, you're gonna reduce the oven back down to 350, and then you're just gonna bake it for about another like 40-45 minutes. I will obviously put the recipe down for you guys in the comments so that you have it, but like I said, this, I mean, in total, if I had to really like go out and buy everything, I mean, yes, would it probably have cost me $28? Yeah, because of the products that I use. But I mean, overall, a lot of these things are things that I keep on hand, so it really isn't that costly to sit here and make it. Now, a lot of people just don't want to make it because, number one, it is time consuming. Number two, you know, if you have a bunch of pie shells and whatnot, you're more likely to eat more pie potentially. But for us, I mean, we have blackberries and mulberries, and so we make mulberry pie and blackberry pies and other pies other than just pumpkin. But this is just such an easy thing that you can do at home, and it just takes a little bit of time and effort. So that is it for the pie. I will get this put in the oven. I'll pour it in as soon as that's done. It probably should be done soon. Yeah, it has like less than 2 minutes. So we'll just pop it out, pour it in, and then turn around and just let that oven rise, and then I'll put it back in, and then we'll just cook it, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So again, like I said, super simple, super easy. That's what we want. So I'll bring you guys back real soon. All right, friends, so we are waiting on that oven to heat up for our pie, and I realized that we have this Costco bread just sitting here. My fiance bought it. I'm like, we don't really eat a lot of bread, honestly. I can't honestly tell you the last time that we had bread because we just don't eat that much of it. And as you can see, it's just sat here for the last couple of days and basically just gotten pretty hard. Like, not super hard, like it could probably be breadcrumbs, but here's what we're gonna do because we don't want to waste anything. We're actually gonna go ahead and I'll probably end up taking this over to my my parents for my nephews or something like that, and my niece. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make basically like a French toast casserole with it. again, friends, we've already got most of the ingredients out, so I'm going to show you how quick this can be. Alright, so go ahead and just take your loaf out of the packaging, obviously. Yeah, it's pretty tough. Ooh, that's super tough, man. I don't know if I'm going to get through it with a knife. Good Lord. Oh my goodness, that's tough. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and break this up into some smaller chunks. I have a younger niece, so I don't want it to be like super hard for her to chew. My nephews will be fine with it, and if the outside's like too tough, just use the inside, honestly. Like, you don't have to use the outside crust. Oh, did you hear that was like cracking? Yeah, let's just use the inside, which is fine for a majority of this. So just break that up into small pieces. I'll tell you the nice thing about this recipe is that once you get all this bread peeled and into your little bucket, I'm going to actually let this sit overnight. And so I won't go through that whole process of you guys watching me peel this, but this is basically what you're wanting it to look like, kind of like breadcrumby. This can of coconut milk that we still have, you're just gonna pour it on top because it's nice and thick. And I let this sit overnight, and I will actually bake it in the morning. I used to actually put it in like a 13 by 9 inch pan, and then I'd pop it in the oven and cook it like the next morning. I'd let it sit in that 13 by 9 inch pan. What I found with that though is that unfortunately the sides will stick because you sprayed it the night before you even put it in, and it just seems like the spray or whatever you're using it just doesn't do right. And so I've learned to just keep it in a little plastic container. If you have a metal container or ceramic container, that's probably more ideal. And so I would say that I just used probably at least a solid cup of the solid, like, full fat coconut milk. I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 eggs into this. If you need more eggs, you can put more eggs. Some people, I mean, it just depends on how big of a loaf that you're actually using and how many people you're trying to feed, but I would say this was mostly a decent sized loaf of bread. So we used all the eggs in that little container, which is fine. But that's a good way to utilize your eggs. And so if you want, you can go ahead and use the same spices that we used earlier. We have the pumpkin pie spice and a little bit of ginger. If you don't want to use that and you actually want to be more true traditional with this recipe, which we may do on this, just get yourself some cinnamon and use about, you know, to your liking, a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, maybe throw in there. Put a little bit of Redmond's Real. Sprinkle that in. There goes the oven so we can put our pumpkin pie in. Get yourself some raisins, organic raisins. I'm gonna throw probably about a 1/2 cup of raisins in there. Make some nice kind of like cinnamon raisin. That sounds great, right? We have these goji berries. Now these goji berries are really quite dried out. And so remember, you will probably need to add a little more liquid in here because not only will the raisins kind of grow and absorb the liquid, but these definitely will. The goji berries definitely will. So I do a little bit of goji berry. I mean, do whatever fruits you like. If you like apples, then move forward with, like, if you got fresh apples growing on your tree, do some fresh apples. I've even done some oranges and some other stuff. Now I'm only gonna do about 1/4 of a cup, maybe a little less, of the goji berries. They have kind of like a bittery taste a little bit to them. Not really what the kids love, you know. I am, for the kids, going to put about a half a cup of sugar. I know that seems like a lot, but they're kids and kids like sweets, and honestly, I want them to eat it, and if I don't add the sugar, they'll just turn their nose up to me and be like, I don't like that. So you got to do that. I'm going ahead, I can already see that we're going to need some more liquid in here, so I'm adding this coconut milk. Now this is not a full fat coconut milk, this is just regular coconut milk, and then basically you stir it up, which I don't have anything to stir it with. I'll use this knife. Use what you got so you don't have to make more dishes. Yeah, I really should have brought a fork over. All right, I'm gonna finish adding the bread in, but this is basically what it's gonna look like. You definitely want it to be a little more liquidy, because remember, like I said, those raisins and the goji berries are gonna soak up that moisture and that juice. And then in the morning, you're gonna get up, put it in a 13 by 9 inch pan, because that's what this is gonna fit best in. And then just pop it in the oven, 350, for about 25-30 minutes. Definitely tint this. So I put a piece of aluminum foil over the top of it, cook it. If you want it to get like a nice little crispy edge, the last 10 minutes or so, just pull that aluminum foil off and then go ahead and finish out baking it so it gets kind of like a nice little crunch on top. I just don't like it to be too crunchy with the kids, but if you like yours a little bit extra crunchy, hey, go ahead and just move forward with cooking without the aluminum foil. Just make sure that you are checking the oven. Just flip the light on and make sure nothing's getting burnt in there, because for us, the kids, they won't eat it that way. But again, this is already prepared for the morning. I mean, how simple is that? And I've already got most of the ingredients out here. All right, y'all heard that oven go off. So I'm gonna pop that pumpkin pie in, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, friends, so the pie is actually done. Check that out, there it is. Got a little bit of a funky little looking situation going on right there with the little crack, but you know, it's for us, so we're not all worried about being fancy here, but it looks great. I'm really happy. So that's how easy it is just to make yourself a homemade pumpkin pie. You don't have to go out necessarily to the store and buy it. I'm happy with it, so that's all that matters. So all right, friends, I just wanted to share that piece with you guys. And you know, I started thinking, if you actually wanted to, you can go ahead and cook the French toast. Just make sure that you add some little pads of butter in it and just spray it off now while you have the oven going, and then that way you can just warm it back up in the morning. But I'll end up turning the oven back on in the morning and just cooking it at that time, because I just want it to be nice and warm, and I actually want the bread and stuff to soak. It's had about 45 minutes or so because the pie's been cooking. So it just kind of depends on how you want to, you know, work that. But just food for thought. All right, until next time, friends, love one another, be kind, and I cannot wait to see you guys in my next video.